Before we get into the episode, I am thrilled to announce that the EntreMD Business School is open for enrollment. The EntreMD Business School is the only school of its kind for physicians who want to build 6, 7, and multiple 7-figure businesses. Over the last 2 years, we have had hundreds of doctors go through the school with unbelievable results. Some of them run brands, some of them run private practices, some of them are coaches, some have other kinds of service-based businesses or product-based businesses. And we've had people come in and cross the 6-figure milestone, cross the 7-figure milestone, cross the multiple 7-figure milestone. You will be in a place where you'll get the coaching, the community, the accountability that you need to thrive as an entrepreneur, especially in the times that we're in. So maybe you've been following me for a while. Maybe you've been getting so much out of the EntreMD podcast and you've been wondering, how can I work with Dr. Una and the community more? Well, this is your chance. Come join us in the EntreMD Business School. It is application only. So go to entremd.com/business to turn in your application. I cannot tell you how many doctors have made statements like this. I recovered my investment in the first week. I recovered my investment in my bank account in the first 90 days. This is the best investment I've made in myself ever. I want you to have that kind of story, not just a story of building a great business that serves a lot and earns a lot, but having a business that gives you the freedom to live life on your terms. So don't wait any longer. entremd.com/business. And now for the episode. Hi, docs. Welcome to the EntreMD podcast, where it's all about helping amazing physicians just like you embrace entrepreneurship so you can have the freedom to live life and practice medicine on your terms. I'm your host, Dr. Una. Well, hello, my friend. Welcome back to another episode of the EntreMD podcast. As always, I'm super pumped to be in your ears. I just got the most amazing review from a doctor, and I want to read that to you. I want to say thank you so much. This is plant-based psychiatrist. I hope I get to find out who this is, but it's a 5-star review, and it's a review on the 7 kinds of people to keep out of your inner circle, which is episode 356 of the EntreMD podcast, which is actually the episode before this one. And this doctor says, wow, this episode was a wake-up call to me not to be the 7 kinds of people to avoid more often than not. The positive reminders are so powerful and important to keep in mind. One life, one chance to create a stepping stone for your children and impact your generation. Love it. Thank you, Dr. Una. And thank you so much. I'm happy to hear that you got a lot out of that episode. And thank you for taking the time, to go to iTunes and leave us a review. I really appreciate it. And I really love how insightful you are talking about how I want to be the 7 kind of people, the 7 kinds of people to keep in your inner circle more often than not, because we all fall into those tendencies here and there. We just want to spend most of our time on the right side of things. So thank you so much for writing that review. I truly appreciate it. I hope you can send me a DM and say, I'm the plant-based psychiatrist. I'd love to give you a shout out in person. And if you're listening to this and you've never left us a review, I want to invite you to do that. It really does make a huge difference because we are trying to get the word out there. We are trying to help 1 million physicians. We want to directly impact 100,000. Why? Because once we touch 100,000 physicians, we will completely disrupt the narrative amongst physicians. I need to think about a time where burnout is no longer a buzzword, loss of autonomy is not a thing, financial stability is now the way we roll, and we're back in control, right? And so that's what we're trying to do. So imagine that just leaving a review and sharing this episode with another doctor helps on that mission. So do that. And thank you so much. If you've already left us a review and you're like, yeah, I still want to be a part of it, just take a screenshot of this episode, share it on social media, and say, oh my goodness, go listen to this episode. Okay. All right. So today I've just come off hosting a 5-day workshop for the private practice owners who are physicians. And we talked about the 7 ways private practice owners leave money on the table every day. And it was such a powerful experience for me, right? It was very powerful for everyone who attended, but it was so powerful for me because it gave me an opportunity to talk about things that, I've done and I've helped others do for years. It helped me to show the physicians what is possible. There's so much hopelessness out there. And yes, I'm not taking away the challenges. There are challenges in private practice and there are challenges with the insurance companies and all of that. But if we can do the things that we have control over today while we work on those bigger systemic things that will be resolved tomorrow, then we can enjoy today. And I did a case study with a doctor we call Dr. Ebony. And Dr. Ebony, we were able to show how she was leaving $715,000 on the table. If you can think about it, so wild, right? And so that's what we did. We had over 600 doctors register from all over the country, and many actually from outside of the country as well. And it was so impactful. You could literally see the hope coming back and people going, wait a minute. They saw things they could not unsee, which was such a gift for me. And then some of them decided, I'm even going to take this a step further. I'm going to join the EntreMD Business School. And it was just so great. And for the people who joined the school, yes, they're going to do a lot and they're going to go faster and they're going to do all of that. But the truth of the matter is for everyone who came for the workshop, if they will apply that, they are going to get results. So I just left with so much hope for the physician community, so much hope for the physicians who run private practices. And as we all become examples of what is possible, is going to be a ripple effect that really is going to disrupt the whole space. So I'm just giddy with excitement. Okay. So today, I really wanted to talk about a concept because as we did this, I had a friend who reached out and said, oh my goodness, that what you did was so impactful. It was such a good workshop and you sold without selling. Like it was so smooth and all of that. And I thought about it and I was like, yeah. And it wasn't from a standpoint of manipulation. It's actually not even because like I'm a smooth salesperson. It's not that. There's a concept, there's a philosophy that I work by. And I decided I would come on here and share that. And maybe if you're listening and selling feels icky and you're like, yeah, I don't want to do that. That's for used car salesmen. You get a lot out of this. If you're somebody who you really believe in what you're doing and you want to put it in as many hands as possible, then you get so much out of this. So I just want you to lean in and I just share what I do. Okay. So the idea is, all right, so let's talk about it, how to sell without selling. And I'm going to use the private practice workshop that I hosted as an example or a case study, if you will. So the first thing is really to give up the mindset of convincing people to buy what you have to sell. You really want to give that up. Right? It's not about convincing anybody. I don't want to convince anybody to join the EntreMD Business School. I don't want to show up in a place and I'm showing up in the place because I have a sales target that I want to meet. Now, do I have targets? Yes, but that can't be the leader, at least not for me, right? I can't show up because I'm like, oh, I have this goal and I want a lot of doctors to come in. It's not about convincing at all. So we want to give up this thing of sales is this thing where I strong arm people so that they can buy this thing that I'm selling that they may or may not want or they may or may not need. Selling is not about convincing at all. Okay, so that's number one. Number two is the flip side of it. Number two is rather than doing that, help people get what they want. Help people get what they want. So I showed up for 5 days. I left everything on the table. And I was showing up with the intention of helping people get what they want. Okay. So for instance, if you think about a private practice doctor for the most part, what do they want? Well, they want a practice that is where they're able to serve their patients, where they're able to serve their team, build a great team, have a great work environment. And they want to do that in a profitable way because they understand that no margin, no mission, right? If I'm not profitable, I cannot keep the lights on, I cannot make payroll, and so I have to shut down my practice. So they want to be able to serve and they want to be able to earn. Right? They would love to be able to create financial freedom, right? So they can serve their patients without worrying about money. They're free to do what they want to do for their patients. They want to have time freedom. So maybe they've built a team. And for some people, maybe they want to work 4 days a week or they want to work 3 days a week and they want to spend time with their family. They want to travel. Maybe they want to work 5 days a week, but they want to be able to take a nice vacation twice a year. They want to be in a position where they're not necessarily working when they're at home. They have enough time for their family. They have enough time for their friends, for causes that matter to them. And that's really what they want, right? And so my job as somebody who serves physicians is to help the physicians get what they want. It's not about me selling what I want to sell. It's about me helping them get what they want. Now, you might say, but it's the same thing. Like, you help them get what they want and they're going to come into the school. But you have to think about what is driving it. The driver is not, oh my goodness, I have to have 15 people join the school. The driver is, I want to help the doctors get what they want to get. Okay. I want to help them get what they want to get. And so I want us to spend a little time talking about that, right? So the first shift is we're going from convincing to helping people get what they want to get. And I want to tell you, I'm going to give you 4 ways, right? How do I help people get what they want to get? And so going back to this workshop that I hosted, what was the first thing I did? The first thing I did is I showed them what is possible. I understand that we're in a time where people think private practice is dead. I understand that so many people have tried it. They've gone into like serious debt trying to do it. Sometimes they need to work other jobs to make payroll and things like that. It's a lot more common than you would think. I know some people they could be 10 doctors in one practice and it's a surgical specialty and you would think they're swimming in dollars, but because they don't understand business principles, their revenue is really high, but so is everything else. And they're at risk of going under, right? And so there is a lot of cynicism, right? Like, people are like, skepticism. They're like, yeah, you can't do that and stuff like that. And I'm really grateful that I was able to show them what is possible, right? And so I showed the 7 ways. These are the 7 ways. And I intentionally picked things that are really simple that everybody says, yeah, I see how I could have done that. Or I used to do that before. Maybe I don't do that now. But, like, it was so relatable because they're simple things like collecting your copay and like just simple stuff. But then I showed them, if you miss out on this, this is how you're throwing away money. If you miss out on this other principle, this is how you're throwing away money. So I showed them what was possible by teaching them. Okay. I'm like, this is what life could look like. This is how much you could save. Okay. Now, the second thing I did, because teaching is one thing, and I could see it, right? I'm teaching and people are like, yeah, we've heard that before. Yeah, I could see it, right? Yeah, cool. Yeah, I hear you. So the second thing was I started showing what was possible by storytelling. Okay, so for every point I brought up, I had this doctor we made up. Her name is Dr. Ebony. She's a pediatrician in Atlanta, Georgia. And for each one, I would show them how this doctor was making this mistake and she was doing this. So for instance, I'm saying, okay, Dr. Ebony, her schedule is not full, right? She wants to see 25 patients a day, but she's only seeing 20 patients a day. And she makes $200 per patient. And so for those 5 patients that she didn't have on her schedule, 5 times 200 per patient, that's $1,000 a day that she's losing, right? Then you multiply that by the 260 working days in a year, that comes to $260,000 that she's leaving on the table because her schedule is unfilled. At that point, people went, whoa, wait a minute. So the showing by teaching was one, but the showing by storytelling was so undeniable, was so mind-blowing, got people's attention. They're like, wait a minute. You're saying that I am leaving multiple 6 figures and then some on the table because of this unfilled schedule? And I show them strategies. This is how you can fill the schedule and stuff like that. They're like, wait a minute. And it was so fun because the next day people started talking about the things they did put in place to make sure their schedules were full and the meetings they had with their front desk staff and all of that. It was so powerful. Right? So remember, what am I doing? I'm helping people get what they want. Okay. So I've shown them what was possible by teaching. I've shown them what was possible by storytelling. And we had some other doctors. We have some of the most, I am so honored to work with the doctors who are in the EntreMD Business School. And so they came on and they were sharing their stories. they were sharing their stories of when they started, how things were. It was so interesting to listen to those stories again, right? Didn't even know if they could start a private practice. One had been in private practice for years. And when she came on, Makita was asking her, so tell me about your revenue. She's, that's not something I've ever really paid attention to. I just know there's money in the bank to pay the bills and all of this stuff. And to see them as rock stars now, like building these practices and crossing the $1 million mark and doing all of building 8 teams and living life on their terms. So people could see this is not just Dr. Una talking. This is possible. This is possible. This can be my reality. What am I doing? I'm helping them. This is part of the journey, helping them to get what they want. And then the third thing I did is, I know how this works. The third thing I did is I gave them an invitation, right? I gave them an invitation. You can do this by yourself. Like maybe you're here and you're like, I do all those things. I don't even need them. Oh, but you're here. You're like, no, I want to do this, but this mentorship I got over the last 5 days, I need that. This accountability, go do it. I need that. The community, I need a community because I'm in all these Facebook groups and with all these other docs and it's constantly, nothing's working. We're stuck. Woe is me. Just shut it down. Why are you even bothering? Go get a job. I want to be in a community of people who are getting this stuff done. And I'm like, if that's you, what you want is mentorship. What you want is accountability. What you want is community. It exists. It exists in a place called the Entrepreneur Business School. Come join us. And so this is an invitation, right? And it's an invitation. There's nothing mandatory. I'm not trying to convince you this is what you need if you need it. You know what I mean? And I'm like, so come join us. And then the fourth thing was, I know how it is till this day. When I know that, okay, I need to up-level my skill or something, and I know I need a program or I need to work with somebody or something like that. Do I have the time to do this? Or I'm like, golly, this is expensive, right? Or what if it doesn't work? And things like those thoughts still float up. I've just done it for so long that I recognize it for what it is fear. And I don't let it stop me, right? I'm like, it's like, what if it doesn't work? I'm like, yeah, but what if it does? You know what I mean? And I don't have the time for it. I'm like, yeah, but we make time, right? Like we don't have time for anything. We have time for what we make time for. And so I understand that. So the fourth thing I do, helping people get what they want, is I'm like, I understand the fear that you have now. And sometimes the way that would work is behind when people have questions, what they're doing is they're articulating the fears that are stopping them, right? And so if you want to help people get what they want, you help. Part of what you do is you address the fears. Right? Anything else? You're a pediatrician and mom comes in with her kid and she's scared. She doesn't want to give vaccines because she read some things on Facebook. And you're going to address those fears, right? You're not just going to say whatever. Somebody comes in, you're internal medicine, they have a blood pressure of 180 over 110. And they say, I have some herbs that are going to take care of my blood pressure. You're going to, and they're like, I don't want to take this medicine because my cousin took that and got sick. And I think that's what it's from. You're going to address those fears. You're not going to let them go. Right. And so you address the fears. You're like, I don't have time to do this and to work on my business, to which I'll say, oh my goodness, if you don't have time, that's the more reason why you should join the EntreMD Business School, because you need to learn how to create the time. Because if you don't work on your business doesn't work. Like somebody needs to be working on the business, right? If you're wondering if this is the right time, I'm like, really, the right time was maybe about 5 years ago. So the next best time is right now. And it's the truth. In 2021, 11,000 private practices either went out of business or sold out not sold out like it's a bad thing, but sold their practices to private equity. And a lot of them, it's not because they wanted to, they just couldn't handle it anymore. Right. And so this is not a joke. Like this is a serious thing. Right. And so this is the time. This is the time if you want to thrive as a private practice owner. When I was younger, I'd say ignorance is bliss, but ignorance as an entrepreneur is not bliss. It's expensive. It costs money to be ignorant as an entrepreneur. And then people, sometimes they'll say, well, what about the money? And I'm like, first of all, in the last 5 days, you looked at 7 ways you could recoup all kinds of money. You can figure out how to pay for this. You have a 6-figure tax bill. I mean, you're going to give you're going to give the Uncle Sam 25, or you're going to take the 25 and invest in yourself and take a deduction. I mean, we can figure this stuff out. We can figure this stuff out. I've done this so many times, so I'm not telling anybody to do what I'm not doing. But for the person who really wants this, why am I addressing the fears? Is it to convince them? No, it's to help them so that they can get what they want to get, right? It's like, I have these fears. I'm like, okay, let's talk about your fears, right? But it's not convincing. It's still up to them to make the decision. And then the fifth thing is, and if you really love people, this is one of the things you do. You'll help them make a decision. And it's not helping them make the decision to join the EntreMD Business School, it's helping them make a decision. Decision number one, I've thought about it. I don't need what the business school has to offer. I don't need the mentorship. My practice is already working. I know all of these things, right? I don't need it. I don't need the accountability, and I definitely do not want any community, right? Or I just don't need this. That is a decision, right? But it's a decision. On the other side, you're like, oh my goodness, this is what I've been looking for. I'm not entirely sure how this will play out, but I'm committed to my results, and I want to take a chance on myself. I want to get a business education. I want to be in community with physicians. I've been so lonely. I've done this by myself for 5 years. I want to be in community with other physician entrepreneurs. I want to be in community with people who believe in my dreams, people who've done what I've done so I can watch them. I want to be where I have access to all these resources, right? And so I'm going to do it. So you want to help people come to absolutely not or absolutely, right? Like, you want to help them not stay in the indecision. Like, indecision is like the worst place to be. I had a mentor who would say indecision is a form of self-abuse. Okay, so that's the way she puts it. I don't know if I'm there quite yet, but indecision is so because nothing happens there, right? Like, it's the decision first and then things start happening. So that's just like hanging in limbo. So you help people. Like, part of the way you help people, you want to make a decision. Absolutely. This is absolutely what I need to do, right? And it doesn't mean all fear is gone or anything like that, but you're like, this is what I need to do. I know this is what I need to do, or I know this is not what I need to do. And make a decision, but don't stay in limbo, right? And so those are kind of the thoughts that I have around that. And what that ends up doing is I end up serving the people who decide to work with me. I serve those who don't decide to work with me. And I'm good with it. And I know that the physician community will be so much better for it. I know the ripple effect is going to touch tens of thousands of people, right? Starting from this moment. And so that's a gift. I know that a percentage of the people are going to say, yeah, absolutely. The business school is the next best next step for me. And then I'll have the privilege of working with them for at least a year in that container. And we're going to make the things that we talked about in the workshop their reality, right? And what it does is, because I didn't convince anybody, I end up with people in the EntreMD Business School who want to be there, who are coachable, who are committed to their results. And I know that we'll create magic together. So we're not in a space where we convince people, because we have a community that is unrivaled. It's unbelievable how amazing the physicians are. I describe them as elite physicians who are building these great businesses and getting great results. And the connections are so powerful, and the way they look out for each other and root for each other. It's a safe space where people who are having challenges can come and say, oh my goodness, this is so challenging. And people come out to support, and someone else can come in and say, man, we just crossed 1 million, and people can still come out and support. And that's amazing. It's just that kind of place. And we truly want to bring in people who want to be in a space like that, right? Like, people who can add to the culture. Some of the doctors coming in, I'm like, wow, they're going to be such a gift to the community, and the community is going to be such a gift to them. It's a two-way street. And so this is my way of thinking about it. I want to invite you to think about how this applies to your own business, because once you understand these things, you can sell all day, every day. And in the process of selling, you're serving your entire audience. So the community at large, your greater audience is better for it. Your clients are better for it. People make the decision to work with you, which again is your highest level of service, right? Anybody who attended the workshop will tell you that I laid it all out there. I didn't hold anything back. I had people from the EntreMD Business School there. Like, I laid it all out there, right? But, that's a 5-day thing, very different from us being able to do this week in and week out for 52 weeks and beyond. So you adopt this, you serve everybody, and then you serve your clients at the highest level. And you could do it every day, all day, every day. And you're a physician, so you love serving. So this is even better because you're like, I get to do what I love to do. I serve. And in the process, I'm selling, but I'm serving. But it's not yucky. You're not like a used car salesman. You can do it ethically. You can do it authentically. You can do it in integrity. And the community will be better for it. Your clients will be better for it. Your business will be better for it. It's a win-win-win situation. So I would really love to hear your thoughts. I'd love for this to be a two-way. And so if you can send me a PM or a DM, you can look in the show notes. All my social media handles are there, and just say what this meant for you, how you're going to apply this, or how this really put you in a position where you can sell authentically and not feel slimy or like you're manipulating people. So send me a DM, send me a PM, let me know. And of course, if you're here, you're one of the people who are like, yeah, and while you're at it, absolutely, yes, I want to be in the EntreMD Business School. Send in an application. It's entremd.com/business. And we would love to have you in the school. If you have questions about it, you can still fill out an application. My team will be happy to get you on a phone call and answer your questions and work out the details and all of that. And whether you're in or out, I'm here for you. EntreMD is here to support physicians, to help them build profitable 6, 7, and multiple 7-figure businesses so they can live life and practice medicine on their terms. And it's my honor to do that. So share this episode with another doctor in your life, and I will see you on the next episode of the EntreMD podcast. Hey, if you love listening to the EntreMD podcast, I want to invite you to join EntreMD On Demand. It is my signature subscription program that gives you access to a library of business courses designed to help you do one thing as a physician entrepreneur, and that is to thrive. Just head out to entremd.com/on-demand, and I'd love to have you join us. See you on the inside.